Welcome on into 19 on the Clock, your Tri-State High School and College Sports podcast. I'm your host, Brad Pushkar. Joining me, as always, my co-host, Jackson McCarty. Jackson, how are you doing today?
I'm doing good, Brad. About yourself?
I'm doing lovely, It's a big time for headlines.
It's a big time.
It's a big time because you know what started this week is Big 12 Media Days.
Yes.
Which means we're going to have SEC Media Days and Big 10 Media Days and MAC Media Days and ACC Media Days.
No,
all the media days.
No Pac-12 Media Days.
Not
this year. Not this year.
Not yet.
Next year. But we do get Mountain West.
Okay,
No, we can't exclude the Mountain West.
That was the
Sure.
Mountain West. But yeah. So it's a chance to kind of hear from coaches. Obviously we are not in Frisco, but I was following along yesterday during the opening day, which is when Cincinnati head coach Scott Satterfield was talking, and I've been following some of the reporting alongside that. We also had a major commitment in the high school to college space.
Yes,
we're going to be talking about. It's that fun time where our topics get to overlap a little bit. You know?
It is. Yeah, our worlds are colliding a little bit more.
Yes.
Because, like you said, a lot of the kids that are rising seniors starting to make their decisions about where they want to go. A kid that we spent a lot of time on last week, matter of fact.
It's a name you're going to recognize.
And if you don't, this is probably the first time that you've been in the Cincinnati Tri-State.
or the first time you're listening to one of our episodes.
Certainly that. He's almost the presenting sponsor at this point.
We'll talk to him about NIL in the long
circle.
term, maybe next year.
We'll circle.
But yeah, and then lastly, you're going to be having an interview with one of the reigning state championship coaches.
Yes.
Ahead of the football season.
Yeah, Coach Jay Volker at Beechwood took over the program a couple years ago. Now has his first ring as the head coach. We're going to sit down and talk to him about what last year looked like for him. He's got a couple of very important seniors that are graduating from that team. Interested to see how he sees everybody kind of stepping into those new roles and just getting a general feel for how the Tigers are looking ahead of the season. Yeah,
and so that is all coming up ahead. But let's start. We're going to talk about Big 12 Media Days because there's a lot coming out of this. I got to sit at home, watch the live feed straight from Frisco, straight from the Star. Very nice facility that I've been to one time.
It is a very, very nice facility.
But all the coaches coming through. If you've never seen a media day before, it's just the coaches come up, sit on stage, take a pool of questions. Players are available in separate groupings that reporters will go around and talk to. I've covered a Big 10 media day in the past. Did you ever cover any?
Mountain West?
Mountain West.
Yeah.
Yes. And so I was only able to really listen to the Scott Satterfield podium talk, basically. And so it's out there attending yesterday was Satterfield, quarterback Brendan Sorsby, tight end Joe Royer, offensive lineman Gavin Gerhardt, and defensive lineman Dante Corleone.
Yes.
And he really was talking about those four guys as like, that's our big core. We're very lucky to have all of these guys returning. He hyped them up a little bit and was like, they could have gone to the NFL. And I was like, there's a good chance, actually, but
I would say at least two of them.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think Royer and Dante could have. I think Sorsby will be an NFL body at some point. I just don't think it was last year.
Yeah, I think the quarterback field was too heavy.
Yeah.
Or too filled at that point. And also, there wasn't that much of a need for quarterbacks unless you were the Cleveland Browns.
And when you just took all of them.
And then you just took them all, yeah. But so their big thing, though, is that they lost a lot of wide receivers. He thinks that they've become a more explosive team with additions in the portal, added some depth at the secondary, kind of help out that defense. He kind of stressed that he wants to keep a balance on offense, especially with the passing game, where Royer had about 50 catches last year. He wants to see Royer get another 50 catches, but also 50 catches to the wide receivers. Not making it be the defenses can cover Royer and then the offensive options are shut down.
Right.
Make sure that they have to be thinking about, if we want to double team this guy, are we still covering this properly? Things like that. And like I said, don't focus on one player.
Multifaceted.
Exactly. Yeah. Opening game is going to be against Nebraska. A lot of people were asking him about that. It was originally going to be at Indianapolis at Lucas Oil. It got moved to Arrowhead out in Kansas City. So it is going to arguably be almost a Nebraska home game.
Yeah, definitely.
Yes.
Like, because that's what, 2 hours, if even, from Lincoln?
Actually, that's a good question.
I used to have to, whenever I lived in Wyoming and I would drive home from Arkansas, I would have to go through KC and then outside of Lincoln and then go through. If you guys have ever done or have never done a drive across the state of Nebraska, it is maybe the worst drive in America. After you get past Lincoln, it is just nothing. It is flat and goodbye forever. But I would say it's like 90.
It's about 3 hours.
3 hours?
Yeah.
Oh. Well, then my sense of time is way off.
3 hours, just over 200 miles.
Okay.
And I'm going from the heart of Lincoln, so I'm not counting not going like stadium to stadium.
Right. Heart of Lincoln, heart of
Arrowhead
KC.
Stadium.
Oh, you are going from
I'm
Arrowhead.
going straight from Arrowhead.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. I'll be.
But he said this is going to be his big thing was that this is going to be an interesting first game, because a lot of times you might have an FCS team, you might have a group of 5 team that you're going to be playing against in the first game, where you kind of go, okay, we're coming into this at a slight advantage. We need to be kicking off and starting off strong, but we don't need to, kill ourselves over it.
Right.
Type thing. With a Nebraska team, especially one that has been improving year over year under Matt Rule, you kind of have to go, we got to hit on all cylinders straight out the gate for once.
And this is also the point of Matt Rule's 10 years previous, where they flipped with the 10-9-win team. When you look at his stop at Temple, and then you look at his stop at where was he? Right before he went to Carolina. It wasn't Baylor. Was it Baylor? Am I being stupid?
It was Baylor.
Okay. Yeah. God bless. Aranda has been there so long that my brain is like not firing properly. But his stops in college football, he usually has a real bad first year because he's rebuilding a program. Second year, he gets right above that 500 mark. Year 3, money.
Yes.
This is year 3. He does have a former top quarterback, Dylan Raiola, playing there. Like this shapes up to be a very good Nebraska team, like you're saying.
Yeah.
And so UC's going to have a headache, for lack of better terms, to put up with.
Well, it's a really big physical team too, and that's that's a testament to Matt Rule.
And that's how Nebraska football is supposed to be.
That's the feed them the corn and grow them big.
Yes.
Which is why he went on a little later on. We talked about last week Joe Cotton, the transfer from North Dakota, coming in. He praised Cotton and said he's very confident about this offensive line, stacking up not just against the Big 12, but against teams like Nebraska. Says the players are using the new practice facility really well.
Good.
It's so connected, he said, where it's like you don't have to leave to go get something that you might need, which is, I think, always a big step where you can have guys working out and you can have guys who are like, okay, well, now I'm done with the workout. I'm going to grab food and I'm going to go watch tape, because you're just taking like 3 steps out of the gym type thing.
Yeah, there's no excuse.
Yes, exactly.
And a lot of those athletes have worked very hard to be where they are, but there's no cutting corners. Like if you can't be like, yeah, coach, I got to run home and grab food. It's like, no, we got the cafeteria. Meals are free.
It's one of those reasons to bring up the NFL when the Players Association releases their surveys every year. Players always rag on Cincinnati of not having great food options available for players and
at the stadium
and things like that. Yes, exactly. And then he said it's actually helped with some recruits where they're coming in and visiting, seeing the facility, and going, oh, well, I can see myself improving here and pushing myself to a further goal, which I think is huge for a program like Cincinnati, where you may not always be – you're not going to always be getting the 5 stars like in Ohio State, but you get those – those 4 stars who go, I want to be a 5-star by the end of my time in college.
Yeah.
Or, I want to be a first-round draft pick. I'm going to push myself. I'm going to hit the weight room. I'm going to be on the field. I'm going to be running back and forth, whatever. Things like that.
Like you said, they're never going to be in Ohio State or like in Alabama or like one of these like long-established legacy schools. There's no reason they can't be like Louisville.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Where it's like we have a big city. We're giving good facilities. We're in a competitive conference that offers upwards mobility and a playoff spot if you do well enough. Like, after this Big 12 move, they are officially out of the whole Luke Fickell range, at least to me, like where it was like Satterfield's only there for 3 years so that he can win 9 games, 10 games, and then pluck to a bigger school.
Sure.
Like, now granted, is that still probably going to happen? Yeah. But, like, that happens to every school that is in Alabama and Ohio State and things like that. You can keep that guy for way longer and keep a much more foundational thing now, at least in my head, than you could when you were in the American.
So it's really interesting that you bring that up because I think you're right. But I also think that there are cases where, like, Luke Fickell was at that program for a while. But
he also was constantly being rumored to leave. Like, I feel like he stuck and we ended up going to Wisconsin. I think he was waiting for the Ohio State job, which just never came to. But
where Ryan, it was given to Ryan Day, kept in-house type thing. I think it's an interesting thing where I think at the core there was not, I don't want to say fear, but a little bit of concern about, now we're going into the Big 12, we're going to make this shift. Am I ready to lead it, or do I want to be in a program that is just established in the Big 10 and try and make my coaching formations work there type thing?
Yeah. Maybe Brian Kelly would have been the better one to use. When Brian was at UC.
And Kelly was one where he was always kind of like, I'm here at UC, and then Notre Dame came knocking, and he's like, all right, see you guys.
Yeah, literally. Like, there was he just up and went. Like, I don't think that you're at as big a risk of that anymore.
Yeah. I think what you are where you would benefit is from guys who are committed to the program in a way, like a Louisville, where you have Jeff Brom, who is an alum, who is local, who loves that city, and even when he left Purdue, he turned down the Louisville job the first time he got offered it, when Scott Satterfield took it.
Yes.
And then the next time it came around, he was like, no, this is where my heart is in Louisville. I'm going to go down there.
He kind of did the Scott Frost thing, but correctly.
Well, and it's so fun. And that's exactly who I wanted to bring up, too. Because
really?
Did you see his comments?
Yeah, I saw part of them with the whole went to Nebraska because it was home and not where he actually wanted to be.
Yeah, well, he got asked, what did you learn from coaching Nebraska? His direct quote was, don't take the wrong job, which spread like wildfire online.
I do respect Scott Frost quite a bit.
And this is Chris Vanini reporting from The Athletic, that he then went on to say, I said I wouldn't leave UCF unless it was someplace you could win a national championship. I got tugged in a direction to try to help my alma mater, and didn't really want to do it. It wasn't a good move. I'm lucky to get back to a place where I was a lot happier. And so that reads to me where I'm like, he is never leaving UCF again unless.
You mean to tell me, Brad, that he is happier
in Florida,
being surrounded by palm trees, being 15 minutes from Disney and Universal, can hit a beach if he drives an hour any which direction, than Lincoln, Nebraska?
It's if only.
Shout out Lincoln. It's a nice city. It's not Orlando.
We got coworkers that have come up from Florida.
Yeah,
maybe they could weigh in on that as well. Would you rather be down there, or would you rather be in Lincoln, Nebraska?
Let's take a poll of the world and see who outside of Lincoln, Nebraska says they'd rather be in Lincoln than Orlando. Point being, I understand what he's saying because it's also a situation of pressure. Mm-hmm. UCF did not have the pressure until they went on, the Bortles run and the what have yous, and self-created pressure. Yeah. Much like Cincinnati's run with Fickell.
Absolutely.
Nebraska, there's always the same amount of pressure that UCF was going through in that run baked in.
Well, and Nebraska has the pressure of an Ohio State Ohio State without the overwhelming influx of cash.
Yeah.
Not to say that Nebraska is struggling with money. But
Miami, the University of Miami, in Florida.
Okay. Yeah, a little bit. A little bit. That's a good way of putting it. Where you have a early 2000s, late 90s historical. This is our peak. We're going to stay here, and then you're just trying to get back to it.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah. That's very good. Good job, Jackson. Good job. There were some other announcements that came out with it as well. Big 12 and the WWE are expanding their partnership, which I think will be very interesting, only because it has never really made sense to me in a way where it's like, oh, yeah, I mean, I guess you're getting a lot of Midwest teams in the Big 12 or Midwest.
Is that
the west of
the middle of the country?
Yeah,
yes.
Like the very middle type thing.
The mountain-ish region.
Yeah, a little bit, but and it's just so spread out.
It's mountain. It's mountain and central time zone. Let's go by time zone.
Yeah, but that I've seen a lot of people who love wrestling out in Texas and out in spaces like that. That I'm like, oh yeah, this does make sense. Where their big plan is to have more episodes of Friday Night SmackDown, Friday night before the Saturday game.
Yes.
Which, yeah, that's a good way of pulling people in if they wanted to go. You want to go to Lubbock on a Friday night, go to the event, and then you go to the game for Tech the next day. That's actually kind of that's a fun idea of helping build a reason for people to travel more.
Absolutely. Well, and because like wrestling, I think is more of a Southern thing.
Yeah.
Like I grew up around, obviously. Like it's a big ordeal in parts of the country. But Pat McAfee also tied in with the WWE. So like if game day, it kind of draws a little bit more game day eyes, or at least McAfee is going to be more susceptible to talking about it on air because he's like, oh yeah, I was just at this show and whatever. And so it's like you can kind of. You can bring more people in that like either one and hope that they cross into being fans of both. And both have strong enough fan bases at their core that you're not really running a risk of like you're not putting WWE in Lubbock, Texas and being like, oh, only 500 people showed up because this isn't a WWE area. Everywhere's a WWE area.
Yeah.
Everywhere's a college football area. So it's like you're fine even without the co-branding of it to where mixing them together is just, clear skies ahead.
I went to a WWE show when I lived in Wichita Falls, which if you don't know is a smaller town, like 2 hours northwest of Dallas, kind of right by the Oklahoma City or the Oklahoma line, and they filled that Coliseum up.
Oh, absolutely.
For it, so
those house shows sell.
Yeah, exactly.
Or was yours TV?
No, mine was not even TV.
Okay, yeah, house show.
Yeah. And then moving on to the next thing. So one thing that you will notice this year, Jackson, as we head closer and closer, is that there will not be a conference media poll for the Big 12. And I don't believe a coaches poll as well.
Okay.
Brett Yormark, commissioner, confirmed that to Chris Vanini with The Athletic. Partially because, I want to say specifically, but partially because Arizona State was picked 16th last year. And that hurt them through the season.
So they don't want to be embarrassed?
As a perception thing. No, I think it's quite honestly where they go. They're looking at the national picture, where if the groups that are deciding who goes into the college football playoff sees, oh well, your 16th team won your conference. What does that mean about the other 15 teams? They don't deserve to be in the playoff. Is how I'm reading them looking into that.
I guess, but that also just screams to me like we don't want our coaches to look like idiots. Because, like, ultimately, what does that poll mean? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, it's just because Dillingham really had a bag of question marks walking into last year. They were given the 16th ranking because nobody had any clue what Arizona State was going to be.
Yeah.
And not good, bad, nor ugly. It was just, we don't know.
Yes. I'll always say this. I think we as a collective sports group are too obsessed with predictions.
Correct. Oh, 100%.
And obviously I am very aware of the irony of saying that, as we are going to be predicting how games go in about a month and a half from now.
Yes.
But
people like it.
But especially, it's like when the NCAA tournament champion is decided, and a week later, all right, here's your top 25 for next year.
Yep.
And it's like, you have no idea what's going to happen.
My favorite example of those are too early mock drafts.
Yeah.
We will finish the NFL draft 2 days later. I will be seeing where if Carson Beck's going to be a first rounder in the next year's class, or Sam Levitt, or Nussmeier, I guess would probably be the better example of those bunch. But
and such a piece of that is just, these are the guys who elected to not go in the draft who would have been third rounders, or second rounders, and you're like, oh well, they're probably going to be up higher now.
Yeah, 100%.
But yes, and I think there is, just looking at some Twitter responses, there are a couple people who are like, actually, yeah, that's fine. We don't need preseason polls.
The point being, though, because like I want the preseason poll. I want the coaches poll.
Yeah.
Because if we're going to use this whole, the team that you put 16th won the thing, for one, that's a fantastic storyline that every national channel beat the life out of while Arizona State was alive in those playoffs. Everybody was talking about it. That became what their run was synonymous for. They became the underdogs of that bracket because of that placement.
Yes.
You can also use it and be like, if you're going to harshly judge them on what they thought of Arizona State before football was ever played, how low is Vandy on that list? They beat Bama.
Mm-hmm.
How low is Kentucky on that list? They beat Ole Miss.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it's
nearly beat Georgia.
Exactly. Like, it's so silly.
Yeah.
Like, you can't hold it over somebody else and then pretend it didn't happen on the other side.
Yeah, I mean, it does feel, and I don't think any of the conferences or the coaches were willing to be like, oh yeah, well, it's us versus the Big Ten and SEC now, but it feels like that, where it's the Big 12 and the ACC against the Big Ten and SEC, where they're just trying to fight for, I don't want to say notice us, but like you for recognition of their accomplishments when they are being discounted so much all the time.
There's 8 playoff spots going to the SEC and Big Ten.
Mm-hmm.
In some amalgamation, potentially more.
Yes.
I would not say any less than 8. Yeah, you're fighting for 4 spots between the other Power 2 conferences. Mm-hmm. There's not a balance there. And also you have a G5 guarantee. You have you have other teams that are going to battle that out. So, I don't know. I feel like taking that away takes eyes off of the product, because like you said, people care so deeply and are so like bought in to these rankings. They love to talk about.
Yeah.
And so I don't know. I feel like that's more of a negative.
Well, we can bring our own.
There we go.
Straight here to the podcast.
We will carry the Big 12 rankings.
We got you. It'll be the FOX19 rankings. And last but not least, it wouldn't be an episode with me talking about college sports without bringing up NIL.
Yes.
And so Ross Dellinger with Yahoo Sports was talking to a couple of coaches. He talked to Dellinger. He talked to Scott Satterfield. And I do want to just bring up the quote from Satterfield, which is, I don't understand what rules everybody is playing by. The whole point of this was for us all to be playing by the same rules, but we are not. We're not playing by the same rules, particularly this past spring when everybody is apparently front-loading, where others are having to now spend their revenue share cap, which is what we talked about a little bit last week.
Yes.
When we saw those first reports of how much was being spent, so much was getting done before this actual year that it's going to be an interesting mix where it's either going to be we have to wait for this whole year to play out, get out of the way, and go, okay, now we're really in the true NIL as a regulated era for next year, or teams are going to play this in a weird way where you just work finances and, we're going to keep back $5 million, or something like that to get us to June, spend it, get it out of there, and then you start with another $20-some million on July 1st, and then you can work with the roster that you already had or something like that.
Does that $5 million hold over? Can that be used on incoming freshmen?
No.
Okay.
I'm not saying it's a holdover.
Right, but like the money you save for the end to pay for the next year.
It'd be the transfers.
Specifically
is where I'm looking at.
Okay. I wasn't, because like I was thinking, like if you have a rising junior that is really good and you want to keep him around, if there's a 5-star that's coming on campus but already kind of thinking about leaving, like how that, you know what I mean, like how that has to get allocated.
Yeah, to me that is that 5-star wants another $1 million or is getting offered another $1 million. Okay, we're going to pay to him in June, get it to him there. It's on our books. Now our books restart, and the $500,000 that we had agreed with him originally is now going to get paid, and that is all that's going towards that $22 million.
Gotcha.
Okay. And yeah, I mean it's very interesting. There have been 1,200 deals submitted to the clearinghouse to clear that they're under regulation and things like that. 1/3 have been approved, a lot are under review, and about 80 were denied and can be resubmitted. That's all reporting according to Ross Dellinger again with Yahoo Sports. Nothing has gone to the second denial and arbitration appeals process.
It's too early.
According to Jeff Kessler.
It's too early. You got to get through all those other processes before the other ones get reprocessed.
Things like that. But yeah, I mean, that's just something that we're going to have to keep an eye on moving forward.
Make college sports less litigious.
What happened to the game I love, but
and regional again.
Yes. And speaking of regional,
yes,
we have a star high school football and baseball player who is staying in the region.
Yeah.
Tell us about that.
Of course. All right. So you know how impressive it is to win like Mr. Ohio football.
Yeah. Pretty good. It's pretty good.
And you know how impressive separately it is to win Mr. Ohio baseball.
That's also very, very cool.
Now imagine a kid did it, but won both,
and is as a junior, and still has one more year.
Yeah. And he's going to go to an SEC school to play both. Matt Ponatoski.
Beautiful.
Congratulations. Like genuinely, so he was down to Bama, Oregon, Arkansas, UK. Made his announcement, went to the university, or is going to go to the University of Kentucky. I saw that he was already recalling recruits on behalf of the university, trying to entice them to come play football with him, which is, because I saw that report like 20 minutes after if the kid hasn't even finished taking pictures and he's already politicking his way to get other kids onto campus, I think you got a good one.
Yeah.
So I've got a couple of his numbers. I did this whole run through last week, so forgive me if you remember it. But 4,100 pass yards, 56 touchdowns, 3 interceptions, 70.7 completion rate, 30th best quarterback in the country for his class, according to 24/7. I believe his composite ranking got him up to like 21st. Mm-hmm. I think a lot of the natural question marks, if you had any around this, was like, why didn't he go to the bigger schools?
Sure.
More football, natural, United, because, Kentucky in its own right is a very large school. But like Oregon, you have Dan Lanning in the history of football there. Mm-hmm. Kalen DeBoer, you have him trying to develop Alabama. Arkansas and Kentucky, I would argue, were pretty on the same footing. But I do know Arkansas baseball is crazy, and has its own invite for that. I think this Kentucky move signifies that Matt wants to not necessarily prioritize football, but I think football matters a ton to him. And I think that an opportunity to get to start as a sophomore instead of as a junior or, what have you, I think that's what the value was to go to Kentucky.
Because I'll say this. If you are looking at both football and baseball,
yes,
Oregon is probably the school to be at.
Yes. I would agree. They also have a history of transferring kids in, though, at quarterback.
Yes.
Which, so like if you are Matt Ponatoski, like how confident are you that they won't just try to transfer a senior in over you every year?
Yeah. Yeah, and I'm just looking at the rosters a little bit for like Alabama, and Alabama is a very spread out. Mm-hmm. You guys, a senior, a couple juniors, some sophomores, some freshmen type thing at quarterback.
They bring in 1 or 2 every year, and it's just machine.
Exactly. Oregon has 5 QBs on their roster right now. Mm-hmm. 1 is a sophomore. The other 4 are freshmen.
Yeah.
So at the very least, you are fighting with
4 freshmen.
5 guys for 2 years, 4 guys for 3 years. Yes. You know what I mean?
Yes. Assuming none of them transfer. But yeah. But also, if you're going to play that game, you can go wherever you want because who knows who transfers anymore.
Absolutely. And
Arkansas, I believe, also had like 3 freshman quarterback.
Yeah.
Like it was a lot.
It's actually funny because as you really talk about the football and baseball side of it, because in my head I was like, oh, baseball or football, like he's a football guy, but it's like you've his 24/7 recruitment had Cincinnati, which good football, good baseball, Duke, good football, good baseball, okay football.
Yeah, well since Elko left,
no disrespect to Duke.
Yeah, but Elko left, so like they are rebuilding.
Yes, exactly. Georgia Tech, another solid. Kent State, interesting.
I mean, relative to who we're talking about,
Yeah, a Louisville team, I think would actually. I actually would have really loved to see him at Louisville, only because I think that, again, Jeff Brom is a very good quarterbacks coach.
And he's just a very good coach in general.
Taken to another level.
I mean, he finally made Tyler Shuck look like something.
Yeah. Maryland, Miami. And again, some of these are where I'm like, oh, yeah, he's in your back door. Like, Miami's going to offer. Michigan, Purdue, Texas A&M, Vandy, Virginia Tech, Wake Forest, Indiana, Mississippi State. Which, yeah. I mean,
he had his pick of the litter.
Yeah, and at the core of it all, too, it's like if you're in the SEC, you're playing baseball and you're playing football.
Yeah, and you're going to be playing baseball pretty deep into the year for most of them.
Yeah. So I like that. I love that for Kentucky. It'll be very interesting to see, just because they haven't had a big quarterback since Levis at this point, or like a name that could he be the guy for Kentucky for the Wildcats moving forward?
Yeah. Well, because Levis was a pretty hightail recruit whenever he transferred to Penn State, wasn't he?
Yeah.
He was 4-star, something like that. Looked decent.
I think so, yeah.
That
sounds about right.
But yeah, Ponatoski, they will have, as soon as his feet hit the ground, he is theirs. You know what I mean? They get to mold him, and I can't really remember the last time, because like it's going to be Calzada this year.
Yeah.
Their quarterback was who last year? It was a transfer. I know it was Levis the 2 years prior to that.
Yeah, it was. I
genuinely. Brock Vandegrift.
Vandegrift, thank you. Yes, I wanted to say Brock Bowers. I'm like, no, that's wrong. But it's Brock.
Vandegrift. Yeah.
Vandegrift. Yes. Thank you.
Yeah, because it was former Georgia guy, former Auburn guy now.
Yes.
Yeah, they need get Ponatoski. Let him play.
Get a recruit. Keep him there.
Yeah, let him play. I know he can't play this year, but it's either way. I am very excited, and it is cool that we will still get to talk about him on the podcast in hypotheticals.
Absolutely, that's the best part of all these guys. When you're like, oh yeah, he's going to this place. I'm like, staying local. Love it.
Pays off for us, like D. Alexander.
Yes, exactly. But he's going to be looking to get 2 state championships.
Yes.
This year, whether it's football, whether it's baseball. You talked to our lone state champion head coach.
Yes, I did. Year. Yeah, Coach Jay Volker with Beechwood. Kind of wanted to get an idea because, as we mentioned at the top of the show, their quarterback, their running back, a couple of key defensive players leaving, but they do have a lot of talent on that roster. There's tons of guys that we saw step up, like a bunch of rising juniors that I noticed on the stat sheet making a big impact for his team. I wanted to kind of get a check-in with him, see how he's feeling about that state title win, what he's got up ahead of him, and let's go ahead and take a listen.
So last year, you guys, you lost the state championship coming into last year. It was your first year at Beechwood. What was the biggest lesson you learned from that state championship loss that prepared you for what you guys went on to do?
I think the biggest thing is we made a conscious effort after losing to Mayfield at Mayfield, and that we needed to be able to run the ball and stop the run. We simplified some things on defense in order to do so. And even every single player that came in, our senior class was unbelievable, said, what can I do in order to help win a state championship? I mean, we had a quarterback that's Clay Hayden that went to University of Indianapolis that threw for about 4,000 yards the year before. And he walked in and said, I don't care. I don't care if I'm not going to throw for 4,000. I'll throw for 2,000. I'll throw for 1,000 as long as we win a state championship. And when you have guys like that, he's the easiest one to pick out. But when you have a bunch of dudes like that are willing to do whatever it takes to win a state championship, not worried about their stats, not worried about any of that, then it makes it a really easy job as a coach. And our players went out and we ran the ball, stopped the run, and it allowed us to eventually go 14-1 and win a state championship.
Yeah, so obviously you mentioned Clay and then Chase Flaherty as well. That was a fantastic 1-2 punch to have, obviously you're well aware of. As you kind of see the next wave of guys stepping up, who's caught your eye to be like, they might be who we start to lean on that offensive side?
Yeah, I mean, the easiest one is when you have a kid get a Notre Dame offer to play football. You're kind of looking that direction, and you're like, all right, Tyler Fryman, like it's kind of your chance to shine. But there's a bunch of guys. I mean, Brody Ayler is going to have a great year for us on both sides of the ball. He was going to be our leading tackler and broke his leg think it was week one of the playoffs, unfortunately, on some freak accident. But he'll be an unbelievable linebacker for us. He'll be able to carry the ball and take over Chase Flaherty a little bit. Nate Pabst is another guy that's going to have a huge year offensively. Who else? We got Caleb Smith, kind of receiver, DB body. I think he's going to have a great year. And we got a little bit of a quarterback competition. We'll see how that goes with the incoming guy with Emmett Queen and the going to be junior Cole Coppage are kind of battling some things out there as well.
Yeah. So obviously we've spent a little bit of time talking about the offense. I know you're a defensive guy. You had 6 games allowing 7 or fewer last year. I believe 4 of those were shutouts. What are the key components of your defense that make up the identity of it?
We changed a decent amount from year 1 to year 2. I wanted to be more complex, and I'm trying to simplify some things to look complex, but make it very, very simple for our guys. One of the biggest things is just their ability to be athletes. I think I overcomplicated it year 1 and kind of had a little bit of paralysis by analysis type of thing. And I want our guys to just be able to play. With most of our guys playing both ways, I kind of understand our offense is going to be more complex. So our defense needs to be a little simpler in terms of scheme, and having some rules on everything. And I think we cleaned that up as a staff and made some better rules and allowed our guys just to run around and make plays. And they did a great job of it.
Absolutely. And not only do you have a lot of two-way guys, you had a lot of rising juniors this year, guys that are coming up to be juniors this year, getting a lot of PT. How valuable is that for after you lose seniors like like Flaherty and those guys to have that experience for the younger guys?
Yeah, I mean, it's huge, especially in some of those games, week like 6 to 11, 12, somewhere around there, where some of those games turned into some blowouts. Being able to get a lot of those guys in, even the guys that weren't starting that are going to be juniors and seniors, were getting a lot of playing time then. And we kind of hang our hat on being able to get those guys in, getting some playing time, getting some work on varsity games. And I think that's going to pay dividends for them this year when we lose a big 16 player senior class and basically our entire offensive production.
Oh, absolutely. All right, so we've spent a lot of time obviously on Beechwood. I do want to look a little bit into your background. Let's start with Moeller, just because Ponatoski did just commit to the University of Kentucky. Feels like a good spot. What is something that sticks with you that you learned while working with the Crusaders?
Man, the reason I went there was because of Doug Rosfeld, and Doug Rosfeld lasted a whopping 1 year and then got an opportunity to join the Bengals staff. So you can't fault going from the high school to the NFL ranks at any point in time. But I think one of the biggest things with him is just to have everybody prepped by Friday nights. One of the things that I used to be able to do is start to yell at guys from the sideline and things like that. And he was pretty evident on, if you have to yell at them from the sideline, then you didn't prep them enough throughout the preseason, throughout the week, in order to prepare them to just go out and play. So that's something that I really took to heart and said, okay, I need to have our guys prepped by on Friday nights. I'm not yelling at them from the sideline. I'm just letting them play. I think he did a great job of implementing that as an entire staff, and we try to do the exact same thing as well.
Absolutely. So when you joined, or prior to you joining Beechwood obviously had this developed ordeal. Noel Rash winning 4 over 5 years, or I know prior to you was the 3 straight. What was it like to kind of step into a program that already had so much success in the recent history?
I even messed it up in my interview. I think I told him, I said something similar to that. I was like, man, to be able to interview at a place that's won 5 of the last 6 state championships, and nobody told me at the time, and I got the job, and they're like, hey, just to let you know, you were wrong. It was 6 of the last 7. I was like, I didn't even look back far enough to see how many state championships had been won. So, I mean, you walk into a place where it's a little bit nerve-wracking in the terms of, hey, if you don't win a state championship, it kind of looks as a down year or a failed year as a coach. But I even told them, even taking that job, is if that's going to be what our ultimate goal is, we're really not doing the right things. Yes, is it a carrot that we can use in order to kind of push towards something? Yeah. And I think our guys want to go out and win a state championship. Yeah, as coaches, we want to go out and win a state championship, but we also use the ability to win a state championship as a way to push our guys, not only like football wise, but just being a great person, just being a great individual, being great in the classroom, out in the community. And we use football as a tool in order to hone some of those skills. And we just like to do everything at a very, very high level. So it's not only just winning state championships, it's doing everything at a high level. And I think that's what makes Beechwood so special.
Absolutely. This is the last one, and I want to kind of put you on the hot seat a little bit
Oh, God.
before I send you away. It is all complimentary. Of your position groups across your team, which position group are you most excited to see this year based on the changes from last?
Oh gosh. Man.
I figure the easy one's quarterback just because it's different.
Yeah. I want to tell you I'm excited about that process though. It's going to be a little bit of a battle. Quarterback's a hard one, man. I mean, there's one. There's one quarterback. Like you don't really go into games where you're like, oh yeah, he's going to play this, he's going to play that. Like we can do some wildcat or some power cat concepts. So I don't think I mean, that one's always hard because somebody's going to lose out on a position battle there. And then unfortunately, somebody's not going to get the amount of reps that they probably could get at almost any other school. So I don't think I'm looking forward to that one.
Fair.
Man. I'm intrigued on what our offensive line looks like, to be honest. I think I'm excited about their ability. It's a bunch of new bodies in there. And we've kind of pieced it together over the last couple of years as some kids that have transferred in, either their sophomore year, junior year, or senior year. Then a lot of them will be seniors this year. But kind of how they come together and work as a unit is going to say a lot about how we are as a program, as a team this year. If they're great, we'll be great. If they're just okay, we'll just be okay. And it's a lot to put on 5 kids that are somewhere in the range of 16 to 18, but that's kind of what comes with it. And that's why they came to Beechwood.
Yeah, absolutely. Again, Coach Jay Volker, I really do appreciate you giving me a couple minutes to talk with you.
No, I appreciate it. Thank you. Anytime.
Absolutely.
And again, thanks to Coach Jay Volker for sitting down with us. Hopefully we'll have a couple more interviews coming over the next weeks ahead, just to make sure you guys get to hear from some of the key players coming up in the high school football season.
Yes, including, we're hoping,
yes,
at some point, Ponatoski and some other guys. So,
yeah.
That is all that we have for this week, though. Thank you all for listening with us. If you aren't following and subscribing on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, wherever you like to get your podcasts, be sure to hit that button. You can also follow and subscribe to the FOX19 NOW YouTube page. Get it right into your inbox every week. But that's all we have. So thank you so much. We'll see you next time.
Have a good one.